Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. It's me and Benji today, and we're going to be previewing the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So India versus Australia Test Series. It'll be the third test in the 4-match series. So for India to win, for Australia to try to draw it. And we will also be talking a little bit about England versus New Zealand. And then we'll do some CNQs and surprise items, whatever. But first things first, India versus Australia. It has been all India so far. There was a little minor fight back by Australia last match where they actually went into the third innings with a 1-run lead, and then just absolutely capitulated and lost horrendously by sweeping themselves into oblivion. So this match, there are some pretty big pieces of news. First and foremost, loss of 2 of Australia's frontline players. So that's David Warner, who was basically beaten up by Mohammad Siraj, and has got a fracture on his elbow and a concussion or something. A lot of bad things happened to him, poor guy. And then Pat Cummins. He's had a family emergency. I think his mother's in pastoral care. So he's obviously flown home to spend time with family, which means Steve Smith is the captain once again. And Travis Head is probably likely to open. So, Benj, what are your thoughts on kind of the updates on the Australia side?
Yeah, you could a lot of news there about people that aren't around. People that are around, as you've just said, Cameron Green and Mitchell Starc. And we've been talking about these all the way through the series, how that they're important pieces of, the game for Australia. Travis Head is in really good form. So I think seeing Travis Head opening up with Usman Khawaja, I don't think that's too much of a bad thing for Australia. I still think Warner deserves that opening spot, and if he was fit, I think he would own it. But it does mean that it adds some flexibility into that Australia lineup. I think the key for Australia is still going to be Smith and Labuschagne at 3 and 4. I think they're still their key players, and I think they're still their main run-getting machines. What will be interesting is to see how they balance out the rest of the team. Now that Cameron Green is back, it means that they've got that number 6 slot. So I'd expect to see Hanscom and Green filling up that rest of the middle order, and then we're into the bowlers. And I think they're probably going to stay with the bowling choice that they had in the second test, with 3 spinners and then a seamer, which will probably be Mitchell Starc, sorry.
Yeah, because they've also got, Cam Green really balances the side. And the only thing I worry about with Cam Green is he's so young, and he really hasn't played that much in Australia. In India.
Yes.
He played a bit of white ball stuff, but it's a completely different game, especially in India where the pitches are, remarkably different between white ball and red ball matches, and obviously the balls do different things. I'm very interested to see how Mitchell Starc does, because at the moment he's been out with a finger injury, I believe, and he said himself there's going to be some discomfort, but he should be all right. So it will be really interesting to see how much he can bowl, because I think Zach said quite a lot that he is quite a big point of difference. He can offer a huge amount with the ball.
And Stark's performed well in India as well. We've seen him over the years. He's always played well in the IPL when it's been in India. I think he played for RCB for a couple of seasons. Mitch Stark's a good player, and I think he has the opportunity to get wickets and just with his sheer pace be that point of difference. I actually expect he'll probably bowl a bit more than Cummins did. Especially also having that second seamer in Green as well. I think that's just really going to balance that side. And I think that, this team that Australia, if they can put out this 11 that they've managed to, scrape together amidst a whole load of injury woes, I think probably is the best 11 that they could go with. So maybe even it should have been their 11 from the get-go. Who knows? Who knows? That is, always up in the air. But yeah, I think for sure they have a solid sniff of a chance. Maybe
I think
we'll give them that.
A solid sniff is fair, if a little generous.
Yes, to at least make a game of it. I'm not saying to win here. I'm saying to at least make a game of it.
Yeah. Australia, you never count them out completely, but I think against India, with the form that India are in these conditions, you can as good as count them out. But
what I
we'll
want
talk about the India side.
Well, this is the thing. I want to ask you about this. How do we think the India side is going to look? Because do we think it's going to stay, or do we think we're going to see some change at the top of that order? What's the future for KL?
Oh, you know what? It really depends on how ruthless the selectors can be. Because I think if it was me, having seen KL in recent form and based on his performances so far in the series, I would be looking to SHUBMAN GILL. And I would get SHUBMAN GILL in. We had a comment like yesterday or something, whenever it was that we put our England-New Zealand reaction out the other day, that like Harry Brook and SHUBMAN GILL are the two like superstars at the moment. And for SHUBMAN GILL to not be playing in test matches when he's in this purple patch of form, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially when there is somebody that you can, quite obviously see needs a bit of time off, maybe a bit of time in the domestic sort of arena, to just improve and get some form back, get some confidence, etc. So that's what
what's your ideal top six for India?
My ideal top six, I've got Rohit and Gill, Pujara, Kohli, Shreyas, and Jadeja.
And then Barrett at 7. Jadeja and Barrett 6-7.
Yeah, and then,
I mean that's exactly the same.
And Axar bat until you get bored.
Well, bat until Shami. So that's exactly the same that I have as well. And it will be interesting to see. And I think a lot of our fans in the comments, and a lot of the pundits, and a lot of the India supporters want that lineup too. As we've seen, there's no vice captain name for the last 2 tests, which is very interesting. So maybe we will see KL depart because of this, rough patch of form that he's been in. Dead interesting. I would love to see SHUBMAN GILL get a go. Now that the trophy's been retained, maybe they'll play around a bit with their squad.
So if we talk about, we've mentioned the batters now. And I think we should go on to the bowlers, because we've included Jadeja in our top 6. So he's definite for us. I mean, he's been in incredible form since he's come back from injury.
I just think no change in the bowlers. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's like the added like Jadeja and Ashwin as the spin twins have been fantastic all the way through. Axar Patel with that backup, he's as good as those 2 bowlers. Like they've got 3 front line spinners. So leave Axar in there, and then Shami and Siraj have been destroying when they've had their spells and when conditions have been favourable. Like Mohammad Siraj, I think has basically for me has become like a mini Bumrah. Whereas
I see that. I do see that.
He's rushing the batter and he's playing very, very aggressively, and I'm really enjoying seeing him play at the minute as well. And I just think especially just how he roughed at Warner, like you can see that he's got, like, it reminded me of Bumrah or a bit like Neil Wagner as well, like just the sort of intent that he's showing. Same with Mitchell Starc. And I think that's really good for India, and I wouldn't make a change to that at all. I think the one change I'd make for India would be bringing in Gill for KL as a straight replacement.
See, I still think, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know how indoor is as a venue. So if you have some insights, please leave in the comments, because we love sort of conversations about cricket, obviously. And so I don't know if it's like slightly flatter. If somebody like Kuldeep Yadav, who gets more turn, might be a decent replacement for, say, an Axar Patel, who potentially has been slightly less potent than Jadeja and Ashwin. And could be, you could see that swap potentially happening in the bowling, where you get somebody that can turn it a lot more, make a bit more of a difference. So that would be the only change I could think of.
I'm just looking at some stats
Go
for the indoor stadium, and Ravi Chandran Ashwin holds 4 out of the top 10 best bowling performances in Test match.
Wow.
With a 7 for 58, a 6 for 81. Oh no, am I lying? Is that a different Ashwin? No, fine. There's only one R Ashwin. It's just for some reason not greened on Cricinfo.
Oh, okay.
3 for 42 and 2 for 43. So it looks like it's very spin friendly. Mohammed Shami's up there as well. He's had a 4 for and a 3 for before as well. So I think it just completely suits the existing lineup. Jadeja's in there as well. So yeah, I personally wouldn't want them to change it at all if it's me.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the England versus New Zealand match that's currently been ongoing. It is currently on day 4. It will be going to day 5, which is the first time for a while that an England Test match has gone on to the 5 days.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolutely brilliant Test match. I'm absolutely loving it. As with all of the kind of Ben Stokes, Brendan McCullum era, they're entertaining the whole way through. England enforced a follow-on, which Benji, you predicted. Well done. And it was quite a good decision, in my opinion.
At the time.
However, we didn't kind of account for the fact that Kane Williamson was going to just come back into form and become, the Kane Williamson of old with a fantastic 132.
Yeah.
Only undone by the masterful bowling of Harry Brook, the golden boy, who incredible. Can do no wrong. And with a 65 mile an hour, about 106 kilometers an hour, leg side
divvy dobber, leg side strangle.
Yeah, he managed to get the faintest edge of Kane Williamson. And I've got to say, I don't think it really got picked up on comms, but I thought that was a brilliant catch by Ben Foakes.
Oh,
Standing up, getting an edge on the leg side. If you've ever tried keeping, that is really difficult.
I just want to speak about Ben Foakes for a bit because, Harry Brook bowls at my pace, and which, is fantastic. It gives me hope. It gives me pleasure. James has stood up to my keeping before, and you don't enjoy it, do you?
No, it's
my bowling.
Especially, not that you do this much, but occasionally, if it's on the leg side, it's really difficult. Like, I'm lucky if I just block it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a very good wicket keeper, so that's not saying much. But to say that Foakes, managed to take that catch, and he is manufacturing wickets.
I want to talk about this because Ben Foakes has been an absolute magician behind the stumps.
Yeah.
3 things that I want to talk about for Ben Foakes. 3 examples. One was the catch of Williamson. Phenomenal catch. I mean, he was up for the stumping rather than the caught behind. But great review from Stokes there. Second one was the Bracewell run out, which, oh my word, Bracewell needs slating for that lazy running, like just foot in the air, bat in the air. That should never. The first thing as a batsman is you always run your bat in, always ground your bat at least. And anyway, lazy shouldn't have happened. But Foakes, with the awareness of that, completely manufactured that wicket and took the bails off, knowing that he was running in casually and at least could have a shout. And then, it was a simple decision for Aleem Dar. And I also want to say, I think Foakes is responsible for Matt Henry's wicket. Okay. Because there were 3 balls that Leach bowled to him. The first ball that Leach bowled, Henry just played out to mid-on. The second ball that Leach bowled, it turned and bounced, beat the edge of the bat, and probably was about 3 inches from the off stump. But Foakes, when he took it, moved his hands all the way back to just over the top of off stump. So by the time the batsman looked behind him, for all he knew, Foakes had just taken that a little, like an inch over the top of the bails. So that gets into the batsman's head.
Yeah.
And then the next shot, Henry's then playing at it when he probably should have left it because it turned away and it got the edge and it went up to root. I just think Ben Foakes, just for that, like he adds so much value behind the stumps. Yeah, really good. And anyway, yeah, that's my little tuppence on how great Ben Foakes is.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And especially that run out where Stokes like launches it in.
Yeah.
And it looked like Foakes was just standing there, and Bracewell sort of got that vibe, obviously.
Yeah.
Saunters in, and then out of nowhere, Foakes takes a one-handed grab and violently like hooks. It was a right hook to the middle stump. And
it was.
I'm very impressed. Very impressed. I think it reiterates our opinions that when Bairstow comes back, Foakes isn't the fall guy. Foakes isn't the one that you should leave out because he is, at the moment, our best wicketkeeper.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking about Leach, you did mention it. The boy got a fifer, and I've got to say he deserved it. I was impressed with Jack Leach's bowling. It was some hard efforts that he had to put in. 61.5 overs that he bowled. And yeah,
incredible.
He took some tap every now and then, but that's going to happen when you're bowling 60 overs. He pretty much had every type of over, but I think he's just so much more attacking now, and it makes such a big difference. We mentioned it in our last review where we were saying that he's gone from being this like defensive hold up and end type bowler to being a genuine wicket taking option.
For sure.
And then England going to bat. So England love a chase. Since Ben Stokes became captain, we have won every single chase that we've tried.
Yeah.
And we've got a chase of 258 runs.
I mean, and 258 compared to last summer, that's like easy numbers. Like last summer, we've 350 was being chased down. So yeah, I'm quietly confident, but as well, as we saw from the last day, the thing that's really interested me about this pitch is it started as a green top seamer. And then by the end of day 3 and day 4, it then looked like a day 1 pitch at Lord's, where it was hard, the grass had died, it had gone brown. But it's just become a road to bat on. However, there's still a bit in it for the bowlers, like Tim Southey's dismissal of Zach Crawley. Like it was we give Zach Crawley a lot of hate on this show, but
we don't give him hate.
We don't give him hate on this show, but
we think that there are other players that should have his slot.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay, fine. But he got out to a Jaffa.
It was a very good ball.
It was such a good ball. Like jagged in, played down the wrong line.
That being said, there was a slight technical thing I thought, where I mean the gap between Crawley's front foot and where his bat was going was about that big. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the gap that the ball went through. If Crawley had got his foot closer to the line that the ball was pitching in, he would be far more likely to have inside edged it onto himself.
Yeah.
And less likely for the dismissal to happen. So that was the one thing that I thought, I'm not going to let Crawley completely off the hook. And he looked terrible for his 24 as well. Like there were so many chances, flashes over the slip cordon. It wasn't good. But Ben Duckett looking very good and a solid opening option. Ollie Robinson in as he's not a night hawk. He's a bit more tame than that. He's a night seagull. And yeah, so it wasn't a very Bazball move, but I think Stuart Broad just needed a breather, to be honest. So
I mean,
yeah,
this is the one thing about the follow-on, and I think this is just the last point on this is that it was such a good idea at the time because of how much they'd capitulated to Anderson. However, England ended up bowling for 210 overs straight.
Yeah.
And I feel for them. We've got a 40-year-old, a 36-year-old, Ollie Robinson, an all-rounder who's broke his knee and can't actually bowl in Ben Stokes. If it wasn't for Harry Brook being able to bowl some 60-mile-an-hour dibby dobbers, I think would be in all sorts of bother. Like this game really showed where we are missing a Wood, an Archer, or a Stone someone to come in and hit that deck and be the point of difference. Ben Stokes would have been perfect in that second innings to bowl. But just because he's done his knee in, as he's always breaking himself, because he gives 100%, we just weren't able to have that. But yeah, I think that England have every chance in the world of chasing this down. I think I just said Broady just needed a breather. Like, he just needs to get on that massage bed, get in the ice bath just to rest off and protect that batting lineup. And if Pope, Root, Brooks, Stokes, and Foakes can't get them over the line, then there's a serious problem there with England.
Yeah. Now, from talking about a match that is going to go 5 days to talking about possibly my favourite scorecard ever, maybe. It is the Isle of Man played Spain in a T20 match. So Isle of Man are touring Spain at the moment, and so the Isle of Man, if you don't know, it's just a tiny little island off the coast of the UK, and very small population there, but enough of a population to get 11 cricketers, and they got bowled all out for 10 after 8.4 overs in a T20.
Yeah.
There were 7 ducks. I was absolutely delighted. But the best thing about it was Spain, who, I've got to be honest, aren't known for their cricketing prowess, managed to chase that total down in 2 legal deliveries, but thanks to a no ball from Joseph Burrows, who, incidentally, Joseph Burrows was the top scorer for the Isle of Man with 4 off 7. So it's been a mixed emotional day. It was
incredible. Just hit 2 sixes.
Honestly, like, if you haven't checked it out already, I'm going to leave the URL to the Cricinfo scorecard in the description so you can have a look, because it is hilarious.
The thing is, on the first innings, the first game, or the fifth T20, whenever that was, there's been quite a lot of T20s. Isle of Man put up a very good 132 for 8, which incidentally Spain chased down in 12.3 overs. But
Spain, they're a dark horse. They're going to be in the T20 World Cup, I'm sure of it. Right.
But
let's move on. I think we've got at least one Cricket Nerds question. So if you want your Cricket Nerds question, leave your comment down below. So it's from a legend of the game, PD, who said, after winning the World Test Championship, New Zealand did not win a single Test series. To be more precise, they have only won 2 matches out of their last 12, including the first England versus New Zealand Test. What is your take on it? That, for me, is really interesting. 2 in 12, very, very poor record, especially for a team with the quality of New Zealand. But if I'm going to try and offer a reason for it, I'm going to say it is the age of the team. There is not a single under 30-year-old in that current New Zealand 11 that they are playing today. And I do see it as being a problem, not just because I think they're all very good players, don't get me wrong, but I think you need that vibrancy of youth, the risk taking, which
the Harry Brook,
the Harry Brook, the Shubman Gill, the Sarfraz Khan, just somebody that can offer a little bit different. And also, I think it's been a case of sort of bowling woes, where Trent Boult has obviously taken a bit of a backseat. Tim Southey has been good, but not incredible. And they're struggling for that third and fourth seamer, because I think Matt Henry shows glimpses, but he's only averaging 40. There is, who else have they got? Kugeline, who
Scott Kugeline, who was a debutant, Blair Tickner, who was a debutant. Yeah. I think
Kyle Jamieson, that's a massive loss, isn't he?
That's the thing. This is the thing with Jamieson being injured. It's really messed up New Zealand. Like, if they had Jamieson, the tall and the height and the bounce that he generates is that also tends to be a point of difference. I think with New Zealand, though, for me, the issues that they've had is that they had such a good core of their team for so long. You think at the end of the McCullum era into the start of the Williamson era, when they were number one in the world, they had that core. They had the De Grondoms, they had the Trent Bolts, they had the BJ Watlings, they had the Ross Taylors, they've had proper they had the Martin Guptills. They've had a proper, like, structured team for so long. And because they've lost a few key players, like Ross Taylor's now retired, as you've said, Trent Bolt's taken a back seat, Colin de Grondom's nowhere to be seen. Like, because they've had these back seats, I think that has what has, made them fall down over the last 2 years. And whether they were so set with their team, they didn't really think of succession planning, or if there just wasn't that talent coming through. I'm not sure the issues that there are in that, but I think that's why New Zealand are where they are now. But not to say they can't bounce back. Look, they've got a better record than England had in the 17 Test matches before Ben Stokes took over. Yeah. So 1 in 17, 2 in 12. I still take 2 in 12 over 1 in 17.
Oh, definitely.
And I think they've got glimpses. And as soon as this team, grows into its skin, I think it will be a force. I think.
Yeah. We've got time for one more CNQ.
Let's do it.
So we're going to go from a few days ago. John Smith 756 asked, there were players like Merv Hughes, who was a good bowler but not fit. And in the current generation, Azam Khan, who is scoring a lot of runs in T20, but he's not fit. Do you think that fitness should be non-negotiable? So, obviously something particularly relevant to that is what's the name? It's not Dane van Niekerk, is it?
Yeah. In the women's game.
Yeah. Who incidentally Australia beat South Africa in the final. Was dropped because of fitness reasons. We've seen people like Rakeem Cornwall, also
Sarfaraz Khan.
Sarfaraz Khan, yeah. Do you think that fitness is a non-negotiable thing, Benj?
I think in this game it needs to be. Look at Anderson and Broad, right? They're 40 and 36. Yet they've still bowled over 20 overs in this innings. They bowled over 15 overs in the previous innings. But you always see them, as long as they can, sprinting in the field. Like, I think their contribution in the field has probably outdone their, but probably not, but it's equal to their bowling. Like, the fact that they still throw themselves around, they're sprinting after everything. They just show how much commitment they have, and you can see how much they've looked after themselves. And that fitness just helps your longevity. And yeah, I think it should be for the modern game, at least, an emphasis on fitness. Look at Ollie Robinson. He was dropped because of his fitness. He's come back and he's had 5 or 6 player of the matches since then. Like, it is just, I think, really important in the modern game. That being said, we have players like Paul Sterling, players like Azam Khan, who are, probably a bit less on that fitness scale, but are very talented. And when they hit the ball, it stays hit. But yeah, I think that to play at international, fitness does have to be a bit of a non-negotiable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think potentially a good metric could be, because leaked runs is where you're kind of going to fall down. It's going to be less intensity, because you're going to get, you're more likely to get sort of fielding errors. People aren't going to be able to reach the ball when it's further away, and run out opportunities are going to be fewer and further between. So with that, I think you need to weigh it up. So maybe if they are contributing to, so if they're a batter, they need to contribute like 5 times or 10 times the amount of runs than they leak in the field. Or if they're a bowler, they need to take, they need to restrict however many times more runs than they concede in the field. Because somebody like Inzamam Haq, who was quite famous for not really doing a whole lot in terms of training, but was an incredibly talented batter. Averaged Test 50. I think it was just short of 50.
Yeah.
And ODIs, he was very high as well, like 40s, I think. So someone like him, who was so much of a talent that he kind of made up for it. And like someone like Sisanda Magala has kind of proven that you don't need to be able to sprint, you know, consistently all the time to justify your place in the side. But yeah, I think there definitely is a kind of midpoint. And
I think
if
in Test
the team
cricket
develops a cut-off point,
yeah,
they should stick to it.
I think as well, it's probably more so, and just as my closing thought on this, in Test cricket than in one day, because in a T20, you see Sisanda Magala or an ODI, you're out there for 50 overs. You can have a subfielder on there for 10. So once you've bowled your 10 overs or your 4 overs, you can go, which allows, you know, them to rest up a bit more. In Test match cricket, you haven't got that luxury, because look at Anderson and Broad. England were bowling Leach and Brook for way longer than they probably wanted to, and because Anderson and Broad weren't eligible to take the new ball yet because they'd been off the field receiving treatment. Anderson for his hamstring and Broad for whatever else it was. Like, those two looked broken by the end of that second innings.
Yeah, and
yeah, I think Test match is probably where it is more relevant as well, because it's hard. 5 days on the field. It's hard. Test match cricket. Yeah. That's why it's called Test match cricket, isn't it?
Right. That's a perfect place to end. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for continued support. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave your Cricket Nerds questions down in the comments below, and any other comments. You know, we like the conversation. So other than that, don't forget to follow our social medias. We are at Cricket Nerds Pod. It's all in the link tree down in the description. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.